became servants to David and brought gifts.
So everywhere he was going, he was setting garrisons up. Yeah. Once he defeated them, that's like, just like the brother said, that's like setting up your embassy. Yeah. And it gets guarded by your troops.
You got troops over there.
Your troops. Okay. So that means that he has total jurisdiction, man. Okay. Go ahead.
And the Lord preserved David wheresoever he went. And David took the shields of gold that were on the servants of Hadadezer and brought them to Jerusalem.
Give me that.
Yeah.
Give me that. All right, it's mine now. All right, go ahead.
And from Betah and from Berothai, cities of Hadadezer, King David, took exceeding much brass. When Toi, king of Hamath, heard that David had smitten all the hosts of Hadadezer, then Toi sent Joram his son unto King David to salute him and to bless him, because he fought against Hadadezer and he smitten him. For Hadadezer had wars with Toi, and Joram brought with him vessels of silver and vessels of gold, vessels of brass, which also King David did dedicate unto the Lord.
Yeah, that's another thing. King David, when he did take certain spoils, he would desecrate it. I mean, he would consecrate it to the Lord, man. These riches, I'm gonna put these, I'm gonna store these up. I'm gonna put this in
the temple. And that's why those damn them Hamites, the Babylonians, they ransacked our temple and took all that gold out of there and took it to Nineveh. What was it? I don't know where they took it, but they took it out of our temple in Jerusalem. All right. All right, I'll read this again. Which also King David did dedicate unto the Lord with silver, gold, and he had dedicated of all nations which he subdued, of Syria, of Moab, and the children of Ammon, and of the Philistines, and of Amalek, and the spoil.
Amalek, right? Amalek always gets singled out because he's an Edomite, but notice that Amalek always is separate from Esau, even though Amalek is of Edom. You know, the Most High, he has a special hatred for you Amalekites, man. And that shows, man. Go ahead, Doc.
And of the spoil of Hadadezer, son of Rehob, king of Zobah. And King David got him a name where he returned from smiting of the Syrians in the valley of Salt, being 18,000 men. Okay. He put garrisons in Edom throughout.
So if he put garrisons in Edom, that means what? He went up in there and he waged war and he slaughtered their asses, man. Yeah. All right. He went in there with the sword, with the buckler, with the shield, and he got busy on their ass, man. Okay. Showed them that lion-like strength, that ultimate Judite strength. All right, that same strength that you devils are terrified of. Yeah. Seeing a so-called Negro skilled with strength, okay, relentless on your ass.
Now you see these Edomites, these especially those Amalekites in the land. No way in hell they came from a seat of David. Right. You know, they don't got no warrior-like spirit like that, man.
Hey, King David was physical. he was calculated mentally as well, but he actually got physical. The Most High allowed him to get physical. These Amalekite devils, they all diabolical.
Yeah. And David reigned over all Israel. So I'm 14 again. And he put garrisons in Edom. Throughout all Edom put he garrisons. And for all they of Edom became David's servants, and the Lord preserved David whensoever he went.
Hey, but I thought we was not supposed to abhor an Edomite. But here it is, he put them in slavery, he killed them, their men, he snatched their women and children up, and put garrisons in their land.
Let's make key note to this. That was after Deuteronomy 7. This is going on.
Oh, it's way up there.
That's what I'm saying.
Way up there.
And hey, King David didn't get persecuted for this. He didn't do nothing wrong here. Look for what he did as far as the women he was dealing with, Bathsheba particularly. Okay, it was those type of things that got him in trouble.
Verse 15. And David reigned over all Israel, and David executed judgment and justice unto all his people. And Joab the son of Zeruiah was over the host, and Jehoshaphat the son of Ahilud was recorder, and Zodak the son of Ahitub and Amalek the son of Abathar were the priests, and the Sariah
If you
were the
notice,
scribes.
so I just want to say, there was always a scribe, there was a recorder, and there was always a priest that went to war. All these people went to war to get the word of the Lord, to know that he was with you, to give you instruction on how to do it. So the priest was part of the army, okay? So they go hand in hand. So when he's subduing all these other nations and all these lands, the Most High's with him because he sent the priest with him on purpose to tell them how to subdue the land. And so they can call on the Lord Yahweh for instruction or for the power to take down these nations.
I mean, the priests didn't actually go
No,
to
they
war.
didn't fight. I'm saying they went out with them, with the army.
That was the Lord basically set the tabernacle of David in order.
Right,
Everybody had a position, you know.
right. No different than your medic or your cook in an American army. The same way.
You got people that don't. You got the people that go to war that don't never touch a gun.
No, they're not there for that. They're there to bandage up people. They get trained in that stuff sometimes. Not to say that ours needed to, but you know, I'm talking about in a modern situation.
During those times, those were men. Even the priest, the recorder, you wasn't just running up on them.
No,
You know, it wasn't just like no scrawny little Jake.
No.
We was a nation then.
Yeah.
You know, we wasn't like we were the regular old Jakes around, running around here now. We was in, we was.
Was that it?
We'll just give them a whole little rundown of the people that were with me. That was it.
Okay, I got something right quick. 1 Samuel chapter 27, start up at verse 7. And the time that David dwelt in the country of the Philistines was a full year and 4 months. And David and his men went up and invaded the Gershurites and the Gerzerites, and the Amalekites, for those nations were of old inhabitants of the land. As thou goest to Shur, even into the land of Egypt. And David smote the land and left neither man nor woman alive, and took away the sheep and the oxen and the asses and the camels and the apparel, and returned and came to Achish. Just kind of showing you, he ran through his slaughter, whoever was in the land. And I saw that to back up your point about all the Amalekites or all the Edomites was in the land of Edom. They were spread out some too. Nobody just dwells in one direct area. We were supposed to, but some of us even dwell a little bit further out.
Yeah, we call them sojourners.
Yeah.
You know, there was heathens living within our land. It was Jakes that was living within the lands and territories of the heathen.
Yeah.
You know, everybody didn't just dwell in their own inheritance, man.
What do they call Cain? He would be a wanderer, a vagabond, man. That's Esau.
Yeah, he's still wandering.
He's that ultimate vagabond. They call them vagabond Jews, man. They wanderers. They have no habitation. That's why they're trying to jump on each and every kind of culture they can throughout time. They were, the Egyptians. They were the Greeks, the Romans. They're trying to jump on anything they can except Edomites.
Now, but you fussed up now. Now you can read it.
I want to read this. You got some big reading? Go ahead.
Psalms 137:7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it,
Yep.
even to the foundations thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who ought to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewarded thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dashes the little ones against the stones.
Yeah. Is that hateful? Is that hateful enough for you? Did he just quote hate speech? That's scripture. Okay, and Esau, the Edomites, the reason why they're associated with the daughter of Babylon is because you're the rulers of Babylon. Okay, and not only that, but you also inherit the ancient characteristics of the ancient Babylonian Empire. When you read in Daniel, I believe it's the 4th or 5th chapter, it talks about how lofty and lifted up Nebuchadnezzar was. Just like how Esau is lifted up with his pride. It talks about how he's the lion with eagle's wings. Esau is known as the eagle. Okay? So yes, you are the basically when it says the daughter of, it means the personification of that empire. Okay? And what does Babylon mean? It's Babel, which means confusion. And you being the head ruler of the society, everything is in major confusion under you. Because it tells you in the Apocrypha, as is the ruler, so are the people. So you sow confusion in the earth, so everybody's confused up under your vibration. All right? You thinking that it's cool for a man to get a sex change and become a woman, or a woman to get the surgery done to become a man, and then now people get that programmed into them and think that that's actually normal now. That's cool.
And anything contrary to that
It's going on.
is a problem.
Or it's legal to have sexual relations with an animal. That's confusing.
And everything that we're saying is in our law. All right, it's not like it's in our vein on opinion. This is the words of the Most High. But everything that the Most High is with, the so-called white man Esau is against.
Oh, another way you know that the daughter of Babylon is evil. Ancient Babylon, you go back to the time of Nimrod. You go back to the time of Nimrod. Nimrod was what? He was a hunter. He was a mighty hunter. Esau, what was he?
Cunning hunter.
He was a cunning hunter. Now, during the time of the Tower of Babel, when they came up under Nimrod, what was the council? That everybody become as one. They came together to build an enterprise to go against the Heavenly Father. Who's leading the charge right now for all nations to come together under his one world government and religion to come against the Heavenly Father in his ways? Edom, Esau. All right, you got to put it together, man.
But there's no new thing under the sun. Esau just basically recycle what Nimrod has done.
I got to preach it real quick. It's 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people and everyone should leave his laws, so all the heathen agreed according to the commandments of the king.
And you see how we brought up Nimrod, right? The nations ain't really tripped on that. But Esau keeps trying to push that one world government under him agenda. He keeps that in his mind. Once the Most High scattered everybody back in Genesis, when Nimrod tried it, the heathen ain't really tried to rule the whole world like that. Esau's still trying to get a one world order. This is another separate occasion versus the now that Esau's been trying to do.
Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath.
That's what this society is all about. That it's all about basically breaking the Heavenly Father's commandments. You got to consult to his religion. You got to, like Trump, if he try to put that Bible back in there and try to resurface this Christianity, hey, we living in another. We living at the end of an age right now.
Hey, that's when you're gonna get assassinated. From. You let that Bible come out like that, people gonna hate you.
Because then people gonna ask questions. With the YouTube, excuse me, teacher. Well, right here it says that Edom there's no repentance for Esau. There's no Edomite. It's gonna be too many questions.
One of them, when Christmas comes, one of the students asked the teacher, hey, can you I don't understand. Can you turn to the book of Jeremiah, the 10th chapter for me? I just want to clarify some things. If you could give me understanding, teacher. You know? Fucking teacher be confounded.
I got no. You have more BC? I got no classic scripture. Psalm 83, and I'm gonna read it from the top because it's just good from the top. It says, keep not thou silence, O power Yahweh. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O power. For lo, thine enemies have made a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people. They consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance.
That the people, that the real Israelites, that they don't remember, you know, that they're the Israelites. They cut us off from being a people. All right? They did what they did, you know, during the captivity, slavery. Okay? They the UN with the help of the Rothschilds and the British Army, they declared the Balfour Declaration, and they brought in the imposters and made the world believe that those were the real Jews. And then Ishmaelites that were over there, they knew that they wasn't the real Jews. That's why they were waging constant wars with each other over there. But those same Ishmaelites, they didn't come out and try to tell us, no, y'all the real Jews. Y'all supposed to be over there.
They're trying to restore us either. They want the land for themselves.
They want the land for themselves. You know, and they went around and did the same thing Esau did when he went around colonizing with Christianity. Ishmaelites was doing the same thing with Islam. That's why a lot of northern Africa and different parts of that region is Islamic. A lot of those Hamites, they're Muslims because they was getting fucked up by those Arabs, man.
And those
the Arab invasion is what they call it in history.
Those Ishmaelites that were, you know, conquering the northern Africa in different parts, they were all set up by the Catholic Church to get the Holy Land. But when it was time to turn the Holy Land back over to them after they conquered it, the Ishmaelites said, "Fuck you, we gonna stay here." And then eventually Esau got that land through, like the brother just said, the Balfour Declaration.
Because you gotta remember, there were times where if you had our possession, which our land is part of our possession, if you had our possession, the Lord would jack you up.
Oh yeah.
How would jack you up for that?
Like having the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah, you having the Ark of the Covenant in your land, he'd jack you up. So a lot of other nations were scared to go in that land. Edom bold ass and said, "No, what? We gonna go in there and beat them."
But you know what? They couldn't just go in there.
Right.
They had to learn our ways to go up in there. How did they become Jewish? It's because they had to convert into Judaism. That happened what the 8th century AD. Kagan Bullet. They got converted. They had to be taught in the way of the law.
They taught our customs.
Because the Khazars, man, the Ashkenazis, which you even have Edomites admitting that those Ashkenazis, they're not the real people. They're fakes, man.
That Edomite Henry Ford did. He wrote a book, or had someone write a book into the history of those Edomites, and he Edomite damn self.
I believe Ashkenaz, they stole that from Japheth.
Yeah.
And them devils, they try to use that to say, well, no, they're not actually Jewish. They're Japheths. They're from Japhet. No, they occupied a land. They was dwelling in a land where Japhet originally occupied. The real people of Yowan or Javan, they've been out of that land.
Yeah, you scattered them out into Polynesian islands.
You Edomites, y'all pushed them out of there, man. Okay? But hey, there's nothing new under the sun, because even going back to that time when the Hasmoneans, the Maccabees brothers, you know, the last of that dynasty, you had John Hyrcanus, who actually converted Idumeans, and that's how they ended up learning our ways. That's why they know, you know, Hebrew. That's why they know certain practices and customs of the law, because they had to get converted. Okay, And it was so imagine over the course of time, them practicing our customs.
Yeah, they got some.
So now the world thinks, oh well, shit, maybe, you know, they acting like Jews. They're
Nobody else
Jewish.
is doing it.
We're
not doing it.
Meanwhile, we was scattered all over the nations, and we learned their works.
They started to bring on like customs, like they wear those Shirley Temple curls and those top hats and shit like that. That's not our customs, those damn yarmulkes.
So they added all that.
I'm saying they added that. Yes, I'm saying they tried to add that and put that into like that was a custom of the people of the Lord.
The little curls in that hat have to look like our people with the curls, like Solomon had curls like the afro, man. To look like our
locks.
The locks.
Supposed to be the lock.
And then also they wore the dark clothing so they can fit the Judah's roof, the black on the rim. So that fits, but it don't fit them. Because when you go into they are black. Kedar was dark skin. That's dark with dark skin. Let me back this up. It says verse 5. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Jebal, and Ammon, and Amalek, but Amalek separate, and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Assur also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot, Salah.
And those are our enemies.
Yeah.
All right, those are all our enemies, man. Hey, and those same nations that was listed were the same nations that King David was going to subdue.
So, Salah, I was supposed to read the 82 in verse 8. Psalm 82 and 8, it says, Arise, O power, judge the earth, for thou shalt inherit all nations.
What is Daniel, the 6th chapter, we should take the kingdom by force. He said inherit. 7th chapter, we're not going to we know these nations are not just going to say, okay, you know, we fucked up, you are the people, here's the kingdom.
Yeah, we're not going to write a Yasharallah declaration.
Yeah.
No, we got to go take it from you, because you ain't going to give it up. You going to look, nope, it's in writing right here. It says we get it. So we got to take it from you.
Jake's stupid ass tripping on that trip back to Africa, 400 years. He's supposed to return back to Ghana, like that's we gonna take the kingdom by going back to Ghana. Jake,
all them
Jake
Jakes
simple,
that want to do that, they don't want to take it.
No, they don't.
They don't even want to keep it.
And Esau setting up these Hamites to come out and apologize, and we're sorry for what we did to your people. Forgive us.
You better be sorry.
It's too late now. It's too late to apologize. What's done is done. You know. So therefore, consequences are going to have to take place. And Ghana ain't our homeland anyway.
Right. We were just like we were sojourners in Egypt. We were sojourners in Nigeria. We were sojourners in Ghana. We was sojourners in Sierra Leone. Okay, the whole Gold Coast. Okay, all the whole western region of Africa. We were sojourners there. That didn't make us natural inhabitants, man. That means that our nationality is based off of that landmass, just because we sojourned there for a long period of time.
People migrate.
We migrated. We left what? We left from our holy land running from Roman persecution.
78.
But we didn't just run into Africa. We ran up into Europe too. That's why there's a lot of Jakes, a lot of Moors that ruled up in Europe.
They scattered in all the
They fled into in parts of Asia also. Parts of Russia,
Germany.
You know.
We scattered in all
When you get Ivan the Terrible. Where was he from?
Russia, but it was a Jake.
He was a so-called black Russian.
How you think those goofs over there got martial arts?
Yeah.
Jake.
A lot of them was Jake, man.
Yeah.
Samurai.
Yeah, samurais.
Ninjas. It's Jakes, man.
I would say that you gotta have a trip of Negro blood
Yep.
to be a samurai.
Samurai, yes.
Say what?
It's a Japanese
Samurai?
proverb.
Yeah, Japanese proverb. You gotta have one drop of blood of Negro blood to be an authentic samurai.
So hey, that means what we were all over, man. We wasn't just in no damn Africa. Even the Lord, he said it before Jerusalem got besieged. He said that we shall be led captive into all nations until the fullness of the Gentiles be. So that means that we're going to be led captive in basically all over the world. We're going to be scattered again. Okay? That's literally what happened.
Not just Judah, Benjamin, and Levi.
God.
The northern kingdom scattered also.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have to get that, because these niggas like this, black only Israelites. No, the northern kingdom is scattered vastly amongst the nations also.
They don't, Jake, they say shit without doing their research.
You don't think during the World War II and it wasn't northern kingdom in American Army that was going over to these different parts of the world and staying there and dropping their seed off? Come on.
But let's take it further.
Oh, yeah, I know, yeah,
Let's
further
go
than
to the transatlantic slave trade.
Yep.
You had Edomites, the settlers that came, and once they waged war against these native tribes over here, they was putting them on ships and sending them back to the old world.
Hey, it's no different than the trucking business, bro.
That's it.
They don't send a truck or a ship back empty.
God.
That's a waste of gas and money and time.
Yep.
So when you drop something
They call
off,
that
some cargo off,
They call that a ferry. They're not sending no ferry ship just to go back to.
even if they do,
Yeah.
there's people going back to the other side of where that ferry came from.
Yeah.
It ain't going back empty. They gonna wait till some people get on board. But when they would bring the cargo, drop it off into America or whatever island or whatever they dropped it off at, they fill it back up and take it somewhere else. And they had a whole route, like a bus route there doing that.
Con, I believe the first recorded ever transport of our people was the Northern Kingdom, and it was 600 of them.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Right.
They was picking up Ephraimites, the Tainos. They was putting them on ships and sending them over there. And then there was also some of those the English. There was when they would go back over to Spain and Portugal, they was bringing Jews and Gadites, Judites and Gadites back over there to the land, man.
A lot of the
Over to Europe.
I know y'all the story of the Thanksgiving story with Squanto was that Gadite he was put into slavery and brought over to London, England. And then he bought his freedom and eventually came back. So don't act like he was just the only one that went over there.
He was just the one that got his story written.
Exactly. He's just the one that got his story written. That was basically the what he's called. He was the bridge between the Edomite settlers, so-called pilgrims, and the Gadites, man.
And the same thing with the whole Pocahontas thing. She was an advertisement. He brought her over there, and her name wasn't Pocahontas, by the way. I forgot what it really was. But she went over there as an advertisement. Like, look, you can have
There's more
this.
of these.
Yeah, come get you one. Look at this. Young and fresh like we like them. Athletic.
To a little concubine.
Yeah, wore out.
Little sex slave.
And she didn't live long though. They wore her out.
Yeah, she was like the first nigga. I'm not gonna say first nigga, but because I always see the accounts where them Gadites about to tear John Smith's ass up, and she's trying to save him. You know?
I got a scripture. This is Deuteronomy 4 and 27. It says, "And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and you shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you."
Yeah.
And that was part of the curse, man.
Deuteronomy 30.
No, that was 4.
Deuteronomy 4.
It's 4 and 27. And then, of course, Deuteronomy 28, 64. All right, Deuteronomy 29 and 29. Okay. We were scattered all over the place, man.
First Peter chapter 1, verse 1. Peter, an apostle of Yahushua, to the strangers scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia, elect according to the foreknowledge of the Most High, of Yahweh the Father, through sanctification of the Spirit unto obedience and sprinkling of the blood of Yahushua, grace unto you and peace be multiplied.
And that was to the diaspora of Judah, you know, in those different lands, man. You know, some of those lands were Asian lands. Okay, you even had Jews that were down in Africa, like Cyrene, that's Libya. Okay, that was coming out to the for the feast. Okay,
yeah.
we were all over the place, man. And that was just Judah, the kingdom of Judah, man. The other, what about the other tribes, man?
But you know, it was in the New Testament. There was still some northern kingdom that was still in.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, because I forgot where I was reading.
Anna,
She was
the
Asherite?
prophetess of Asher.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, she was an Asherite.
Yeah.
So that's not. So don't get it twisted. It wasn't just Benjamin, Judah, and Levi still over in the land.
They weren't taking a census
Yeah.
to make sure. No, hold on. We got 2 that ran. Let's go find them before we send the boat off.
That's why when James said to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, you still had people of each tribe, even the northern kingdom that was still on that side of the world.
Yeah.
Not all of the northern kingdom came over here.
And don't think it wasn't some Judites that was along with the northern kingdom. Because say you had a family, and you know,
Married into that other tribe.
buried into that tribe. So like, okay, we're going to a new land where we can we're going to the land of Asherah to keep our commandments. Well, I'm gonna go with them. You know,
and it's easy to think about it because they all had to come up to Jerusalem for certain feasts anyway. So whether if you was from the city of David or not, if you lived up in Asher, you just got to make sure you come up and keep the feast.
Yep.
You ain't got to stay there. You didn't have to. You know, it just was a custom that you kept. But it was all right for you to dwell if you was a man of Judah that was in the land of Asher or wherever else. You wasn't tripping as long as you keeping the laws right up in here. Ain't nobody tripping. So you leaving with the Asherites into, hey, you think they didn't go into Assyria under that captivity? They weren't the only ones. It was just as that entire tribe and that kingdom of the north and the south, they went into those Babylon and Assyria.
This is, I got Acts 2, and I'm gonna start at this is Acts 2 and 5. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven.
Out of every nation, that tell you right there. That they were scared. They were scattered and looked like the other nations. At some point in their life, they were mingled in with the other nations.
And it was through various captivities.
Yeah.
We were scattered even during the days of the Babylonian captivity.
Yeah.
You know, you had the north that were brought up into the Syrian captivity, and then a lot of them escaped, and then some of them were, you know, once they got brought down, you know, Jake was constantly migrated, man.
Done.
Okay, same thing with under the Babylonian captivity. Judah was brought captive up into the land of Babylon.
Yeah.
All right, you had Jakes in Nineveh, you had Jakes in Media, you had Jakes all over those regions, man. You know.
And now when the noise was abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded because that every man heard them speak in his own language. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, Behold, are not these which speak Galileans? And how hear we every man in our own tongue, wherein we were born?
There was still some Israelites that was in the part of the country where the northern kingdom was supposed to be at, but they were already gone off to the other part of the world. But there was still some scattered out there. They were there with the heathen that was telling people. So when they thinking like, these got to be Galileans because they clearly acted like Israelites, but they don't necessarily look like Judah and Levi.
Yeah, there was, you know, usually when we were living amongst the nations, we stopped practicing our own customs to start doing what they're doing. So you don't think Jake would forget about the law where it says, "Thou shalt not give your sons unto their daughters, and your daughters unto their sons"? No, Jake was just like today in America. Jake gets with the Edomite or the heathen women. All right, and our women get with the heathen men, and they be procreate. Yeah. But when Jake have children with heathen women, them babies come out looking like the other nations, man. All it takes is one generation to change their genetic makeup, man.
What they look like.
what they look like, the features.
Two, they can wipe up the original gene of what you look like.
But it doesn't change the seed.
Right,
That's the
seed
point.
still sticks. Yep.
All right, but we ain't saying that to say that every scattered Israelite was a
Right.
confusion of face.
Right.
That's not the point.
Right.
But you're gonna have some of them, you know, once they were brought into another culture around other people, they're gonna be integrating, man.
All these possibilities, you know, it happened.
Yeah.
You know?
It really
We
plays,
just-
that's just how life happens.
This is life.
It happens today. It's nothing new under the sun. It was happening back then.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you had little Blake Griffin,
Yeah.
you know.
I don't know his son's name, but
Yeah, man. You know.
Kyle or some shit.
Verse 9, Parthians and Medes and Elamites.
And not only that, but they were speaking those foreign languages.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I got it right here.
They were speaking those other languages. They were learning under their philosophies. You know, some like when you go into the book of Acts, the 17th chapter, Jake was philosophers. They was going into all type of other shit, man. It wasn't the same thing that you learn up under the law. You know,
They just want some of them just want to hear something new. The Epicureans, and then it's about their
and
flesh.
Stoics,
Yeah.
Epicureans,
Up on Mars Hill, Areopagus.
Dwellers in Mesopotamia and in Judea and Cappadocia and Pontus and Asia, Phrygia, Pamphylia in Egypt and in parts of Libya and Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes.
And they named everybody in that whole Mediterranean region around there was devout Jews speaking under every scattered among every nation. You know, name the whole region.
Crates,
Those are the ones that can make it back to Jerusalem for the feast. That was in range to make it back.
You said Italy? What, Italy?
Yeah.
Rome, Italy.
That's far away from.
in parts of Libya, Cyrene, strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes, Crates and Arabians, we do hear them speak in our tongue and wonderful works of the Most High. And they were amazed and they were in doubt, saying one to another, what meaneth this? Others mocking said, these men are full of new wine.
Yep. These dudes, what them dudes are? How they know how to speak all these different languages, man? You know?
What did it say? Elder Yakar Anab say? He said the spirit doesn't get on you, it's in you.
That's it, yeah.
Right? And
Yeah,
so
well,
you
the
can't
spirit
ask
was in
about
it.
how to get it on you. You
Right.
can't ask about how to get it on you. You gotta be
Right.
in you. So that they was able to
Like
do
that, like that sorcerer that tried to buy the Holy Spirit.
Oh yeah,
Thanks.
Yep.
You can't buy the Spirit, man. The Spirit of the Lord has to give you the Spirit. He puts it into you. It don't just come on you, and you can just be like, yeah, let me get a slab of Spirit.
Let me get 2 portions of spirit today.
Yeah, let me get a little portion of that Spirit real
So
quick.
half, I can only afford half. of the
I'll give you some shekels. Let me give you 50 shekels. Give me some Spirit. Nah, man. It don't work that way, man. Because the Spirit belongs to the Father.
Done.
All right. And He's not going to give that which is holy unto the dogs.
Done.
So you heathens, you can't even get the Holy Spirit. You'll never be able to get the Holy Spirit.
If you get the Holy Spirit, which is opening
It's
your
more
mind up to
likely
see
because
the-
you are
Yeah,
Israelite.
you're Israelite.
Like the
Right.
confusion of faith brothers that's in the camps,
Yep.
they got the Holy Spirit because they're Israelites.
Right.
Okay? Yep. Well, you have,
Let me go into what you just said. Let me read it real quick. It's Wisdom of Solomon chapter 1 verse 4. For into a malicious soul wisdom shall not enter nor dwell in the body that is subject unto sin.
Go ahead.
Esther chapter 8 verse 9. Then were the king's scribe called at that time in the 3rd month, that is the month of Sivian, on the 23rd day thereof, and it was written according to all that Mordecai commanded unto the Jews, and to the lieutenants and the deputies and rulers of province, which are from India unto Ethiopia, 127 provinces, unto every province according to the writing thereof, and unto every people after their language, and to the Jews according to their writing and according to their language.
Damn. That's a That's a lot of provinces, man.
Yeah.
That was a vast region for an empire.
Say
Okay,
from India to
Ethiopia. That's a lot of landmass to have total jurisdiction over. All right, but hey, when an empire went down, that vast land of that vast majority of land, the next rulers would basically take over that same amount of land that you had rule over, man. Like when the Greeks took over,
Exactly.
it didn't. The Persians, yeah, they stopped being
rulers.
the rulers.
Right, right.
But that same from India all the way to Ethiopia, that was just now the Greeks got it, and then the Romans took that. You know, yeah. But you had at that time, you still had the ability to be able to migrate. That's why a lot of Jakes were scattered, man. You know. That was it. It was if somebody could get Isaiah 41. No. Isaiah 61 and 9. Because hey, everywhere in the planet, the Lord's he's gonna make it to where all the real Israelites, whether you're Confusion of face or not, it's gonna be acknowledged that you are an Israelite. All right, and all the places where the Lord put us to shame, we're gonna get fame, man.
I got one. It's Isaiah chapter 11, verse 11. And it shall come to pass that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Petros.
That's where we were at, scattered in these places.
And from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel.
Elam, which is the East Indians.
And he shall
Hey,
set
it's showing you what? That, like I just mentioned, because it said what? From India to Ethiopia, when the Persians were ruling, Jake was still maneuvering.
Hey.
So there was Israelites all over those provinces,
When we
man.
talk about Elam, the comedian Russell Peters, is that a Jake? It's a Jake, man. That's a Jake.
I've been on the fence about him.
Right.
I've been on the fence about Russell Peters.
But we know that, but
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a possibility. I won't rule him out, but certain things about him, I'll be like,
an example of an Elamite possibly being a Jake. I'll say it that way.
he'll make you laugh though. He got some jokes.
Well, I ain't seen Elam ever be that funny.
Yeah.
That's why I felt confident in saying it.
Yeah, man. But you gonna have Jakes among them too, though, man.
Yep.
You got the
And his name is Russell Peters. It ain't
Right.
Ganganoosh, whatever the hell that name is.
what was the name of those Jakes that scattered amongst them? I think they call them the Untouchables.
Yeah.
Okay, you got the Untouchables, man. Yeah. And if you ever seen like images of the Untouchables, man, they look like straight up curry niggas. They some straight up curry niggas, man. They got the woolly texture hair and all that, man. You know, but they've been mingled among those Elamites, so they have that look. You know.
And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth.
Set up, say that again, set up the what?
And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth.
Yeah, because hey, we're only in certain places. They wouldn't have to gather us from the four corners of the earth.
Hey, but you know what? We read about scriptures how the Lord's going to actually assemble us from out of all these nations. That's a cut on that flea doctrine. All you niggas that's teaching that flea America doctrine, what happened to the Lord assembling us?
Right.
The Lord's going to do that, not us, not on our own accord.
What's that? Isaiah 14. He says he's going to place us in the land.
He's going to do that, man.
Yeah.
Yahweh Shai, he's going to come with the angels, and he said that he's going to gather his elect from the four winds. What is that talking about, man? All the Israelites that's been scattered all across the globe, Yahweh Shai, the ones that's of the elect, they're gonna get beamed up, man. All right, it's gonna be an abduction nation all over the earth.
It's Isaiah 14:1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will choose Israel and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob.
Those strangers are the outcasts.
Yeah.
Okay. The strangers are basically the guard, not the Nakar, but the guard.
Right.
Wherever we were brought captive, we're sojourning in a strange land. Whether it be in the Philippines, whether it be in Thailand, all right, whether it be in China, Tokyo, okay, up there in Russia, in all throughout Europe, Africa, all of different lands of Africa, even South Africa, man.
The Middle East.
The Middle East.
The Polynesian Islands.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all over, man. We're up with the Eskimos, man. We're up there everywhere.
So they can't really process that because they think that every Israelite is gonna come from all over the world, looking like Isaac Hayes,
Michael Clark Duncan.
but yeah,
Shaquille O'Neal.
yeah, man.
I got
Samuel Jackson and shit, man.
I got one. Hey, what we're talking about is good news. It's funny, everything that we're talking about is the gospel.
You had niggas talking about, oh, y'all let heathens into the camp. Y'all let y'all let Turkish people in the camp and Romanians into the camp. Sicilians into the camp, and those is all the heathen. You simple ass Negro, man. You're very low. Hey, like General Yohana said years ago, you small in the Bible. You small, man. You have no understanding, and you're carnal as hell.
Carnal, them same dudes don't got no works.
Hell no, they never got no works to show for.
Hey, that's funny. I just broke that down to my kids either last night or I think it was this morning. I was breaking down, hey, y'all gonna have to start separating yourself from some of the little friends you got.
Yeah.
Right, it's about that time now, but according to the spirit of that person, and I had them break down what they understood about it, and they understood. The ones that have that like, I said, even if they look like us, if they don't have that righteous type of spirit like you have on you, hey, you don't really want to deal with them. If they don't have a good natured spirit about them, don't really deal with them. But if they do, it don't matter what they look like. Okay, I don't mean just because they're nice. You know?
Yeah, man. And I mean, they never have an argument because they'll talk about the confusion of face, brothers, the people that look like the other nations that's down with us, but then they'll never talk about the tares.
Right.
How you don't know that certain niggas that you might be cool with ain't no tares, man. And their spirit is a little funny or off, and you might even have those feelings about that, but you don't say nothing about it, or you just but that's a Jake though,
Yeah, he look
because
like
he's dark skinned.